Welcome back to the gospel. Man, there is all kind of stuff going on this weekend. We have the NCAA football with their playoffs. Can't wait to see those games. We have wild card weekend with the NFL. We got firings. We'll probably have some hirings by the time the weekend is over. We're going to talk about a little bit of all of it. I'm your host, Zay, the fantasy football fiend himself. I got my guys with me. Holla at the people, young Vander, the fantasy Nostradamus.
Good to be back, man. What's going on out there?
And my guy BK wins, the man that's put money in your pocket and mine. Holla at the people, BK.
Hey everyone, and it's great, Vander. It's great to have you back, bud. You've been missed.
Appreciate you.
All right, so guys, remember we are now on YouTube and on the Facebook group. So if you have been enjoying the podcast, by all means, you can see the video version as well. Again, on YouTube, that's the Gospel STP at the Gospel STP, and on Facebook, the Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group. Let's dive right in, guys. So Antonio Pierce, Gerard Mayo, Doug Peterson, and Darren Rizzi, if I pronounce his name correct, the former head coach or the guy that was the interim head coach down there in New Orleans, they've all officially been let go. Some of the names out there that are being kicked around, you have Mike Vrabel, you have Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, and let me go back. So Mike Vrabel, former head coach of Tennessee, Brian Flores, the current defensive coordinator of Minnesota, Aaron Glenn, the current defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson, Mr. Glenn's counterpart, the offensive coordinator there in Detroit. We've also heard a oldie but goodie, a couple oldies but goodies. Rex Ryan just interviewed with the Jets. John Gruden, his name has been kind of kicked around a little bit with the Saints job. Were there any surprises as far as you're concerned, as far as guys that got let go, and of the guys that are available, whether they be guys that just got let go or some of these other guys that we've been talking about? What's the best fit in your eyes? Because we have obviously the New England Open, the Jacksonville opening, Chicago, the Jets, Las Vegas, and New Orleans. BK, why don't you start us out? Were there any surprises for you? Best fits? What are we kind of feeling about this coaching carousel, as it were?
Yeah, no surprises at all. The teams that made changes were organizations that are in disarray. I know some would be surprised that Gerard Mayo got let go after 1 year, but when you're a defensive guru and you take a top five defense into a bottom five defense with pretty much very similar talent, not totally the same, but comparable, that's a bad look. You can't do that. I think Vrabel's the best fit in New England with his ties. Aaron Glenn is the front runner for the Saints. He has a great relationship with the front office there in New Orleans. Intrigued to see where Brian Flores goes. He said he'll openly interview and take any job that's available. I think what is exciting to me is in my opinion, there's a strong head coaching candidacy out there. A lot of great candidates that I think would be good fits in these places. And I think that's great for the NFL because it'll help make the league overall better. I bemoan all the time there's not many great head coaches in the NFL, so it'll be nice to kind of get some of that talent back.
Vander, same page? Or do you feel there's a few fits out there that are a little bit better? Were there any surprises on your end?
I mean, the one surprise for me, honestly, was the Mayo firing. I mean, I understand, as far as the defense is concerned, but again, I take you back to that defense wasn't quite the same. Barrymore was there most of the season. You did lose your best pass rusher to Atlanta and Matthew Judon. And just for him to have one chance, 1 year, didn't really have an opportunity to get his guys in. I was kind of surprised by that move. Even Gronk, as you could see on the football game show he was on, they had to cut him off because he was about to go in on Kraft, it looked like. So I think he was surprised as well. I think the tie sounds good with Vrabel, but I don't know if Vrabel would be successful in that job. I think you want to take a job that has a little more meat on the bones per se. I think the Raider job may be a great job for Vrabel as well. I think he can fit that mold. Kind of surprised by the Chicago Bears asking to interview McCarthy. Now, that's
Yeah,
one
I saw that.
for what? That's the kind of thing I have an issue with the NFL. It's a coaching carousel. It's like you lose a job over here, you go over here. It's like give some new blood, some new guys an opportunity. I think we've seen with guys like McVay. Um, we've seen, some of the younger coaches be successful, the younger
Mhm.
guys. So give some guys some opportunity. I'm tired of seeing like I've seen somewhere where the Jets want to interview Arthur Smith. I don't want to curse, but for
That would
what?
be a very Jets thing to do. Yeah.
You're talking about nepotism at its finest. Uh, he is Bronny James. Arthur Smith is Bronny James because he keep getting these jobs based on who his dad is, not because of anything he's done in this league. He just got fired as a head coach. Now he's the OC in Pittsburgh, whose offense is not good. So why would you give him another opportunity to be a head coach? Come on, man.
Once you're in the fraternity, you're in the fraternity is basically the way it works out. For me, and as being a Patriots fan, I just want to say, I get it. I get it. Robert Kraft didn't know that this litany of great candidates were going to be available when he hired Gerard Mayo last year. But I'm sorry, Mike Vrabel, better coach. Brian Flores, better fit than Mike Vrabel as far as I'm concerned in New England. Aaron Glenn, he's one of the reasons why Detroit's defense is as good as it is today, even missing 16 starters. Ben Johnson, he took what was a middle of the pack offense in Detroit and turned them all the way up to being one of the best, if not the best, as far as point differential is concerned. So there's some guys that are out there that I just feel are better than Mayo. And it's one thing to do what Bill Belichick did and have a handle on your side of the ball that you're supposed to be the guy on, but not so much have a handle on the other side of the ball that you kind of hired your OC and these different positional coaches and all that kind of stuff to kind of handle a little bit. But what can you hang your hat on if you're Mayo? The locker room's a mess. The defense is a mess. I didn't expect for you to fix the offense, but if you don't hire these guys and Mayo ends up not being the guy, this isn't a Houston Texans situation where they got their guy and they know it from his rookie season. Ain't nobody going nowhere. This isn't that. This is about as bad as it can go. We should have had the number one overall draft pick. And what you decide to do in your infinite wisdom is win the one game that the fans and the owner were wishing that you didn't. Like, I almost believe he could have kept his job if he didn't take us from 1 to 4. Like, no one's going to trade us for the number 4 overall pick. We could have had people picking out of the palm of our hands, getting Godfather type deals had we had the number 1 pick. But no, what do we want to do? Go out and win one for the Gipper. You're fired. You're out of here. You're out. You don't even know how to lose right. You could have went out there and made losing look good. That's all we really needed from you, to be honest with you.
Well, to Vander's point, I'll go back to something he said too, is I do feel like Mayo was set up to fail there, right? He was only there 1 year. He inherited a roster that wasn't very good. The defensive players that were good were either hurt or traded. The offense was a mess. They lack playmakers on offense. So I don't really know that it's fair to judge somebody based on 1 year. So that part I do agree with. I personally never liked the hires, so I will say that. But in terms of but that's my own personal preference. It's not necessarily an indictment of 1 year. I don't think is fair to criticize or bury a guy his coaching career.
BK, I'm gonna tell you something that somebody told me one day. The fair comes around once a year and they have cotton candy and candy apples. There is nothing fair about the NFL. It stands for not for long. That goes to the players and the coaches.
Well, the thing
Again,
is,
this isn't as much about Mayo as it is about the other dudes that are available. If I got my third favorite dude out of the current available guys, that guy's better than Mayo. It's nothing against that guy. He did need 2 or 3 more years to really see what was going to come about. But I know what Vrabel's able to do with a lackluster team. I saw him do it in Tennessee. I saw him get a team with about the same talent as we have in New England. He got that team to the playoffs.
No. I'm not gonna go that far. In my opinion, I thought this job should have been in Vrabel's job last year, right? Because Vrabel was
Agreed.
But
I prefer Flores, but yeah.
But let's not forget Tennessee. Vrabel had a problem finding a really good OC. The defense was fine, but so that's the thing with this head coaching thing. Can you find the right, especially for a defensive-minded coach like a Rex Ryan, who I love? Can you find someone to move the ball on the other side? Tennessee team is no comparison to this Patriots team. We talking about Derrick Henry, AJ Brown. Like they had some way better guys. This Patriots team is awful. You had let's not forget Brissett was the starter at the beginning of the season. You just gave Ramondre Stevenson some money. Okay, whatever that is. You don't have a wide receiver. You was willing to offer Brandon Ayuk $30 million to come over. He didn't want to be there. So it's like this team was.
You know what? You just brought up something.
This team was not going to be fixed in 1 year. It just was.
Agreed. But the GM, how does the GM still have a job? Do you know what this GM did? Let me paint. I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but this GM drafted Jalen Pope at 37 after making a trade with the Chargers to go down from 34. You know who the Chargers drafted? Ladd McConkey. You know why we don't have a wide receiver? Because we decided to get cute and trade the draft pick and get the next best guy instead of getting the guy that we should have got. That's the travesty as far as I'm concerned. How does the GM, who wasn't a GM before, some type of an executive or whatever he was, you did no better than Bill Belichick. Well, how do you still have your job? What groceries did you buy last year that ended up being a part of a gourmet meal? Not a nary one. No one he drafted even seems as if they're still going to be on the team within 2 to 3 years. Maybe that changes with the coaches that are out there. An interview that they did today that I think would make a great pairing with just about any one of those head coaches that are available other than Ben Johnson is Byron Leftwich. I would love to see Byron Leftwich hook up with one of these defensive guys and run that offense. That's the kind of progress I need to see from New England. Jacksonville. I actually think Mike Vrabel would be great in Jacksonville. Brian Flores, I like more for New England. I think we kind of have to get a little bit more of that hard nose, do it because I said so, and you'll realize why later on type of a voice in the room. Chicago, I think Ben Johnson ends up in Chicago as long as he can get his way. He's constantly said he wants to be on the same page with the front office, which is kind of the dog whistle for let me do what I do and get the heck out of my way. And if you can't guarantee me that before I take the job, I'm not taking the job. Las Vegas, I don't know. Aaron Glenn is all but a shoe-in for New Orleans. Las Vegas, I was hoping they would give AP another shot. He was in a similar situation as Mayo was. It's not. You don't think so?
No, because he got an extra year to. He came as an interim,
right?
But then he got an additional year where they signed He got an opportunity to sign free agents and kind of implement his thing.
So you don't think that Mayo had that opportunity coming into this year, as far as some of the guys that he wanted?
No. And not only that, I mean, you got to understand, New England is an acquired taste. Not everybody want to go up there and coach. I heard the kid Johnson from Detroit he has an interest in New England. I
Yeah.
just don't think every coach fits New England's, whether it's the region or whatever it is. But you have to be a different kind of guy to go up there and get it done. I just don't think Pierce had this. I think Mayo and Pierce, I think, is a little different. Pierce.
You think he'll be a DC somewhere, or you think he'll probably be?
No, he could be a linebacker coach somewhere or something like that.
Okay.
I don't see him stepping as a D because what have you seen out of this Raiders defense to give him a DC job? It wasn't great.
I mean, they kind of turned up a little bit last year, and it seemed like they regressed this year.
He's a good locker room. Yeah. He's good for that, and guys want to get behind him, but that only lasts a couple games or two. You can't. It's a whole season. No way. As you can see, yeah, they thug it out through last season, and he put a little fire in him. But that's it. I don't see him as a coach. And to be honest with you, Aaron Glenn, I'm all for the brothers getting opportunities, but I don't see head coach. I don't feel head coach when I see Aaron Glenn. He doesn't give me.
But do you think he deserves the opportunity?
No, not yet.
No?
Because if you're gonna say, so why Bieniemy hasn't got the opportunity? If he's way more qualified than Aaron Glenn, he got Super Bowls under his belt. So if you make a guy like Bieniemy waited so long, who the hell is Aaron Glenn?
I feel like Eric Bieniemy is something that has nothing to do with X's and O's as far as he's concerned, because he can't even get an interview. Like, I don't know if you got the wrong agent, if you just rub people the wrong way when you walk in the room or what, but like he can't get on. He can't even stay on a college team very long. Like it's something that we aren't seeing that has to be the cause of that.
I think there's two things that hurt Bieniemy. One, what you just alluded to, Zay, is correct. There's something behind the scenes that we're clearly missing. But the second part of it is, I think if we're being honest, who really gets the credit for Kansas City and what they accomplished? It's Andy Reid and his genius mastermind in Mahomes. Bieniemy called the plays-ish, but I think everyone believes perception is reality. I'm not saying I believe this or this is factually true, but the perception is it's really Reid doing all of that, and Bieniemy just rode the coattails. And I think that's also another thing that he's facing.
But even when Bieniemy went to Washington, he had Sam Howell with the most yards of any quarterback in the league for was it like 8 weeks or something like that? And then Howell ended up getting hurt. They had no line. They only had one wide receiver, and he had a no-name quarterback putting up a ton of yards. So I kind of feel like it's one of those guys that make a meeting awkward. Like he doesn't know how to talk. If the proof is in the pudding as far as what he does on the field. But when he goes into that office and he's talking to that owner, I don't know if he's making backhanded jokes or if he's sitting there just smiling and can't speak, like he's nervous. Like, I don't know. It has to be. Yeah. By now, someone should have just thrown a dart and he landed somewhere.
He may interview bad. Maybe that's what it is. But I mean, going back, BK spoke on Andy Reid getting that. But what about Nagy? It's the same thing. He's an OC in Kansas City, and he got him an opportunity in Chicago and got fired and went back to Kansas City. I wouldn't be surprised if Bieniemy is back in Kansas City next year.
Somebody was talking about interviewing Nagy. I can't remember which. It might have been Chicago. Somebody was talking about interviewing Nagy for a head coach position.
Chicago. I think it was the Jets.
Was it the Jets?
Yeah, but real quick, I think the OC from the Commanders will also be a guy to keep an eye on as far as going to Chicago. Him having some, relationship with Caleb Williams as well, and seeing how good that offense has been thus far.
Yes, Cliff Kingsbury. I forgot to put him on the list. Absolutely, he's another guy whose name's been out there as far as coaching jobs are concerned.
He can stay right there in Washington. Hint, hint.
Let me ask you this. I also heard that in the situation that you brought up, BK, with Bieniemy not calling plays, I heard that Mike Kafka is getting interviews and he doesn't call plays for the Giants, who only won 3 games. He's getting interviewed. The offense sucked. So I don't know if some of these guys, their agent is just good enough to get them in the room, and then we keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best, or what. But
Guess what?
Kellen Moore, he's another one.
Mike McDaniel didn't call plays. He got the head coaching job, but he wasn't even an OC. And let's go there. He wasn't even an OC in San Fran. He got a head coaching job in Miami. So I guess it depends on who you are.
Anything you can get off of that tree, people want. As far as that Shanahan tree was, because McVay came from it, McDaniels came from it, Kyle Shanahan, like a whole bunch of people came from that tree, and it was just a popular thing to get one of them and keep your fingers crossed. And he hasn't done bad, but what you got, BK?
Well, just think about some of these teams, right? The Bears are a mess. The Jets are a mess. If they'll invent new ways to screw things up. The Raiders are the same. You know, you're going to see this over and over again with some of these teams. So now the Patriots had 2 decades of success with Belichick there, right? But most of these franchises really have struggled. And it all starts at the top. So what confidence do you have in any of these regimes to find the right guy? The fact that the Jets would interview Rex Ryan, to me, I'm sorry, is laughable.
I love Rex, man.
I love Rex's personality, but come on. The guy hasn't been able to coach in 8 years. Why now?
Well, the thing with Rex is relationship. He's already been the head coach there with the Jets. And Woody Johnson is a different type of owner. He's almost as meddlesome as Jerry Jones. He's just not in front of the microphone every week. And if you have a good relationship with Woody Johnson, it doesn't matter if you're the best fit. With him, I really feel like it's who interviewed the best. It's not going to be who is the best. So I honestly feel that Rex Ryan may have just as good of a chance, not saying that he should, but I believe he's going to have just as good of a chance of getting the job as anyone else. Why? Because he said something the first go around that made Woody Johnson say, hey, you know what? Let's try this guy out. Not only that, but he said something else already that I was just like, oh, okay, so we coming in hot. He said that he would be the perfect coach to make sure that tabs are kept on Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers don't come in the building trying to take over everything. So if what Woody Johnson wants to hear is keep Rodgers, keep Devontae Adams, keep the pieces there, I need a guy who can work with those pieces, not a guy who's looking to replace those pieces. Rex Ryan has already kind of started preaching that sermon. So that's going to be very interesting. Let me ask you guys this, though, from this perspective. Of the jobs that are available, New England, Jacksonville, Chicago, the Jets, Las Vegas, and New Orleans, which team do you think would put a potential coaching candidate in the best position to succeed? Like, how would you, like of those 6, what would be your top 3 jobs? And does it depend on the coach that gets the job?
Me personally, I think the New York job is the best job.
The Jets
being that they have the pieces in place, but you just have to make the right move as far as your OC and your quarterback that you're going to bring in. And I think as far as just someone getting out of your way, I would say the Las Vegas job is probably the next one, as far as maybe you coming in and being able to do what you want to do without the owner standing over you. I think that job. But for me, I like the New York job if they make the right, because they have a ton of talent on this team. You got all pros on defense. You got all pros on offense. I just think it takes the right signal caller and the right coordinator to really get this team going.
So I think the best job out there is the Jets job. To Vander's point, they're loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. I think the second best job is the Saints because of their defense is pretty good and they're in a division that's winnable. The Falcons aren't world beaters. The Panthers are awful in a terribly run organization franchise. And the Buccaneers, while Baker's taken them to the playoffs the last 2 years, the Buccaneers aren't world beaters either. They're very beatable. In the I disagree with the Raiders because we know the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chargers are going to be a bear to deal with. And the Broncos are losing all that Russell Wilson dead salary cap with a rookie quarterback next year. The Broncos are going to be loaded too. The Raiders are so far behind those three teams. It would take 5 miracles to get them competitive. No one's going to save the Raiders. They're just a dysfunctional mess. But I do like the Jets by far as the best option. The second would be the Saints. Although the third one you could talk me into would be the Patriots because I do trust Kraft and the division is doable. The Bills are really good, but the Dolphins are mediocre and the Jets are obviously going through what they're going through. Even though the Patriots don't have the talent either one of these teams have, you can close that gap pretty quick if you get the right person in place, and they already have their quarterback. So I think the Patriots would be my third option there.
For me, I think my first option would actually be Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a lot of talent. They seemingly have a quarterback if you can get a competent signal caller in there. The second would actually be Chicago. Chicago has a nice defense. For all of the mistakes that Caleb Williams made, not having a good head coach, not having a good OC definitely didn't help him out at all. And the third would actually on my list would be New England. New England has a good defense. They have good players on defense. They're going to have what could be a great draft situation. And they already have a quarterback in place as well. The reason that I wouldn't want the Jets job, I hear what you guys are saying about the talent, but two of the most talented pieces, even if you do well, will probably only be there at 2 years max, and that's Devontae and Aaron Rodgers. So then you find yourself kind of starting over again, and if you're a new head coach 2 years into your career, you don't want to be kicking the tires on quarterbacks and number one wide receivers that you don't know are going to work out well, because that's a good recipe for you to no longer be a head coach. So I just kind of feel that New England, Jacksonville, and Chicago have some pieces in place, but moreover, if you go there and you do a good job, you're going to have your free agents, and hopefully your GM can help you out a little bit with free agency and with the draft, but you already have your nucleus there versus with Las Vegas. There is no nucleus. You don't know what the heck is going on there. They need a whole bunch of pieces. New Orleans has one of the worst cap situations in the entire league, and Derek Carr's already said he's not taking no shorts. So y'all figure out what y'all got to do, but I won't be taking money off of my contract. So that cap situation is what makes the New Orleans job a little bit lackluster, in my humble opinion. The Jets are going to jet. That's just kind of what they do. In Las Vegas, I think could be very appealing, but there are a lot of holes to fill there, and not. I would say there's not a lot of confidence in the quarterback situation. Maybe you do draft the right guy, maybe you don't, but if you don't, you're fired. And so that's kind of where I am as far as ranking those jobs. But
so I disagree.
Okay.
I think the Bears are much like the Jets. Their front office and ownership is dysfunctional. They have proven time and time again they can't get it right. They invent new ways to mess
has
it up.
Poles proven that though?
Yes.
Their current GM is kind of proven that he's. I can't say he's gotten it wrong. I mean, the talent that he brought to the team is.
Did he retain Eberflus when he could have fired him? He gave him an extra year.
I don't know if that was his decision though.
He drafted the wrong
I don't know for sure.
He drafted the wrong quarterback, and he retained a coach that should have been fired. Now, again, you can argue that maybe that wasn't his decision, but then
I really don't think it was.
If it wasn't his decision, then why would you take a job that you can't make any decisions?
Well,
And then the second part real quick is this, right? I'm going to give the unpopular, maybe, but this is just how I feel. In both, the reason why I don't like either situation is you're going to have to find a new quarterback. Sunshine, a.k.a. Lawrence, is mediocre. You compare him to Daniel Jones stats all the time. Neither one of them are any good. So, and you give him an extension for a guy who didn't merit it. And Caleb Williams, look, the guy can't play. And you can blame the coach and the OC and all those, and that's all cute. The guy can't play the game in the NFL.
He's a rookie. I can't put it all on him when he didn't have a head coach or an OC. He's a rookie.
Drake May is a rookie with no head coach, and he played just fine with no talent.
Caleb got better stats than Drake May.
But he didn't play better.
I mean, he played worse and got better stats. How does that work?
Well, remember, Williams played the whole season. Drake May did not. We're comparing.
Drake May only. If we look from the first game that Drake May became the starting quarterback on forward and compare Caleb Williams' stats with Drake May's, Drake May didn't do a better job than Caleb Williams.
Disagree.
I'm just. I mean, there's nothing to disagree with. It's numbers.
But again, stats are like bikinis. They show a lot, but not everything. I can spin the numbers to say whatever
I will agree with that, BK, because there's been some.
You like that, didn't you?
There's been some games where I've seen Caleb overthrow 3 dudes in the first, second, third down, overthrow. I mean, I do see where you're coming from a little bit. I just don't think that we can throw the baby out with the bathwater in the Chicago situation. And if that wasn't his decision to make, because everything that we heard, not that we agreed with it, let me just put that out there, but everything that we heard is that Caleb was the can't miss, you got to get him, or you're doing the Mahomes thing all over again. We were all looking at it like, wait a minute, have you guys seen Jaden Daniels play? But I don't know that a second-year GM actually truly had that decision all in his hands. But I still don't think that we should throw him away. But if you get the right coach, I can see Caleb having the same type of career arc as a Russell Wilson. I can see that level of talent and that level of, if you give me the defense in the run game, I can hold it in the road. I can see, and actually another coach that's getting interviewed that I forgot to put on the list, Pete Carroll, is interviewing with Chicago. So that type of coach where it's, I'm not going to allow you to let us fail. I'll give you a little bit more leash as you get better with what it is you're doing. But that style of coach where we're going to depend on the defense, we're going to depend on the running game, and I need you to be able to throw the ball when I ask you to throw the ball. I don't think he'll do well in a Cliff Kingsbury throw the ball down the field. He'll end up turning into Jameis Winston if you put him in a quote unquote high powered. He'll get the 30 touchdowns and the 30 interceptions, and you won't go anywhere if you put him in that type of down the field offense versus just throw the ball when you got to.
How you going to say that he can't play in the Cliff Kingsbury offense when the Cliff Kingsbury offense is the reason why he's the first pick?
No. Okay, I'll be more than happy to answer that, because the NFL is very much different than college. You can't run around for 10 seconds in the backfield and then throw all the way down the field and hope for the best in the NFL. That's what he tried to do this year, which is why he was the most sacked quarterback ever. That's not all on the offensive line. That's on the way he's trying to play. If you have the right head coach or the right OC, and you can kind of break him of thinking he's Superman, and look, three step drop, ball out. 3-step drop, ball out. This is what I want from you. If you can't do it, you'll be sitting down until you figure it out. He needs Brian Flores. He needs that kind of guy. Like forget this let's work together thing. He needs to do what I tell you to do because I told you to do it, because when you try to do it your way, you look like a fool. He needs that coach. Humble opinion.
Well, I mean, like, again, it doesn't make sense. That offense got him drafted 1. You can't say
I get that, but you can't play the same way.
But it's not the same way. This
He's
offensive line
trying to do that now, and he's overthrowing the receivers and throwing interceptions.
is still not the same. You can't say it the same way when it's a different OC. Offensive line is, I mean, the offensive line is not that good. That's not like
It's not.
It's not like he's just rolling to sacks all game long. Like they're not giving him time to throw the ball.
About half of them sacks he created.
I wouldn't go that far.
He holding on to the ball 8 seconds. What you think about to happen?
But then again, like kind of what BK was talking about, you talking about Carroll and all this. He wasn't bought there to be a game manager. He was bought there to be the guy. They're saying this guy can make all the throws. He's Pat Mahomes-esque. You don't bring in Pat Mahomes to play defense and not turn the ball over. It doesn't make sense.
You're right. But did Pat Mahomes start week 1, game 1 when he was drafted?
No, because he had a Pro Bowl quarterback who was there already.
So that's all I'm saying. Give him a little bit of time to get there instead of being shell shocked. Patrick Mahomes, I don't think would have looked like Patrick Mahomes if he started week 1, game 1, and didn't have Andy Reid as his head coach.
Well, see,
that's a huge factor. If you give Andy Reid Caleb Williams, we'd be looking at a different situation.
Okay, so
he ain't got that.
Okay, then. So you can't blame it all on Caleb if it's going to be a.
I'm not blaming it on Caleb. I'm saying he needs the right quarterback OC situation and don't throw the baby out with the bathwater is what I'm saying about Caleb.
As far as Trevor Lawrence is concerned, if Doug Peterson can't fix him, he can't be fixed. Okay, if Doug Peterson is one of the quarterback whisperers of this league, right? So if he's not doing well with him, then who he gonna go? Where he gonna go?
Well, that's kind of why you got to get rid of him because you just paid that guy. So Trevor Lawrence ain't going nowhere no time soon. So you better find somebody that can do something with him, and it ain't gonna be Doug because Doug hasn't done it.
But you said this was a great destination for a head coach. I don't
for the right coach. For the right coach, I don't think the system, and also the term "great," tongue in cheek, great in comparison to the Jets in Las Vegas, in New Orleans, in Chicago, like in comparison to the destinations available.
No,
you can't tell me that you have them at the bottom of that list.
No.
So where do you have Jacksonville ranked as of these jobs?
I would have Jacksonville 3rd from the bottom.
I mean,
so you have them 4th.
The only teams that the situations where I would put worse than Jacksonville are the Raiders, who are just, and the other one would be I'm trying to think of the other one that I think is terrible.
You got New England, Jacksonville, Chicago, the Jets, Las Vegas, and New Orleans.
In Chicago, the Bears are a mess.
So you really think New England is in a better situation than Jacksonville and Chicago?
Yes, because they have an easier division. They're a better run organization, and it'd be easier given their history to get people to go there versus the Giants. I'm sorry, the Bears.
Belichick and Tom Brady couldn't get people to go there. Nobody wanted to be in New England when we were winning.
But there's something said when your owner oversaw 15 conference title games in 17 years. The Bears won't get to 15 conference title games if we play 150 years. So I mean, that's the thing. When you suck all the time, how am I supposed to be convinced that it's all of a sudden going to turn around? Fair or unfair? And here's the thing. Caleb Williams can't read a defense. He doesn't think he has a problem. So who's going to convince him that to work hard, shut his mouth, and get better at his craft?
That's why I said you got to have a guy like Brian Flores that's coming in there no nonsense. You can't have the buddy, let's be friends guy. That ain't going to work.
Why would I want to go to that shit show?
Because he wants any job that anyone wants to give him. That's why. He literally said that he'll take any job that's available. That's why. But here's the thing, right? New England tried to overpay Brandon Ayuk. And he said, nah, I'm good. We could not overpay a single free agent this offseason. And you're telling me people want to play for us? We couldn't pay one person. We were basically ready to give away money. Didn't matter to who. Nobody wants to be there. So how is that a better job? You're not going to get free agents in New England. It's already been shown. We couldn't get free agents when Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was there. None of these coaches are going to be the draw that makes it I'll go play there now type situation. Unless Drake May shows up and is Tom Brady-esque and there's a head coach who is player friendly, like New England just ain't the spot. The taxes are horrible. The weather is horrible. Like you got to be in Belichick and Tom Brady's shadow. That's my squad, and I'm telling you, of the teams on this list, if I'm a head coach, I probably want to be. I would rather live in New Orleans, Las Vegas, Chicago, Jacksonville, and New York. I'd rather live in any of those spots. I'd rather have my family in any of those spots than New England. So I don't know. And maybe I'm just being extra hard on my own team to not give too much credit and put too much hope and stock into it. But unless it's a Mike Vrabel situation and maybe he can get some guys that he's already coached, maybe that's an avenue that you can go. But we're having problems giving away money right now. So I don't know that New England is going to be turned around. And at least the Jets could give away money. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have came to New England. We could have matched the same contract, gave him $1 million more. He wasn't about to do it. So it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of weeks who goes where. And then obviously we'll come back and we'll have a conversation about, who went where, why they went, how we think the fit is. But let's go ahead and move on into wild card weekend. So I'll go ahead and lay out all the matchups. We have 6 matchups. The Chargers versus the Texans. Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. Denver versus Buffalo. Green Bay versus Philly. Washington versus Tampa Bay. Minnesota versus the Rams. I'm interested to know which games you feel are going to kind of give us the best bang for our buck as far as entertainment value is concerned, but then also looking at where you feel the upsets or the beatdowns are going to come into play.
I think this weekend is going to be full of upsets. I don't think it's going to be any blowouts.
Okay.
I think you bang for your buck. I would say the Bucks Commanders game because it's probably going to be some fights in that game, right? I know Mike Evans is thinking, damn, I cannot shake this guy. Because Lattimore, you know what I'm saying? He's over there waiting for him like, yeah, I'm
What's
still
your boy,
here.
Lattimore? Yeah.
So like that you could very well see those two guys ejected, right? Before this game is over. I really think Denver can upset the Bills.
I told BK that right before you hopped on.
Okay,
that was one of my upsets for the weekend.
That's something you might want to keep your eye on. I mean, that defense is top notch, and I know they're going to try to come up with something to kind of slow Josh Allen down.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Pittsburgh Raven game, the Ravens supposed to beat these guys, right? But flip a coin. This is one of those division games where anything can happen.
And Pittsburgh has had their number the last, when you look at the ratio of it, coach to coach, Mike Tomlin has had Harbaugh's number. So that's another one that I said, man.
And then with the Rams and Vikings, that's another teacher-student game.
Yep.
I think the Vikings are more talented. But again, Stafford is the trusty old veteran. Never know if he can get it done. So it's a very interesting weekend for sure.
So the upset that you gave me was Denver Buffalo.
Oh.
Did you have another upset?
I think Pittsburgh Ravens possibly. Not saying I'm not writing these down. Now I would.
Right. I got you.
With Denver, I may be inclined to bet on that. The Ravens should win easily, but I just know how these division games go this time of the year, and you just never know.
BK, who are your upsets? Any beatdowns going on? I know you're going to give us the Vegas aspect of things. What we got?
So, so the matchup I like the best in the AFC is the Chargers -2 on the road against the Texans. huge coaching disparity there. Harbaugh versus Ryans. I love what D'Amico Ryans has done there, but make no mistake, Harbaugh is money when it comes to these things. And we see the Texans, it's like a birthright. They win their division, they host a playoff game, and they go one and done. That's what they do almost every year. You know, they're not going to have Joe Flacco throwing him 17 interceptions like last year. So I think it's going to be tough sledding. The Chargers are going to go on the road and beat the Texans. I like the Ravens to beat the Steelers, but the one thing that gives me pause, the best predictor of future results is past performance. Lamar is 1-4 in the postseason and looked pretty pedestrian in his postseason career. Do I really think he's going to turn the page against that Steelers defense that typically is low scoring and probably going to be a cold day where points will come at a premium? So the spread's big, 9.5, 10. That's a lot of points for a division matchup, to Vander's point. I'm not betting that one. I give the Ravens a slight. I think they'll win barely, but I do think Baltimore will find a way just because I don't trust the Steelers' offense. I mean, they have been really bad. And then look, we know Denver's my second favorite team. I would love for the baby Broncos to go into Buffalo and beat them. The only thing that gives me pause is a rookie quarterback on the road in a playoff game that typically doesn't go great. I love their defense. They have the coaching advantage. I like Peyton much better than McDermott. We all know. You know, Zay, we talked about this forever, how McDermott crashes and burns in the postseason.
Yeah.
And the other thing is are we really sold on the Bills' defense? Are they going to be able to run the ball? And at wide receiver, do they have the wide receivers to challenge the Denver secondary? And by the way, who leads the league in sacks? The Broncos. You pretty much pick a defensive metric. They're 1, 2, or 3 in every metric. So I almost feel like I'm talking myself into Denver. But I'm gonna say this. Buffalo is one of the true places that has home field advantage left in the NFL with all these corporate ballparks and in stadiums that we have now. I just think that the Bills are going to find a way. They're going to win by probably a touchdown. I like the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chargers in the AFC. But I got to tell you, I never struggle to have clear-cut opinions, but in the NFC, I'm really not sure. If you made me pick an upset, I'd actually take Green Bay over Philly. We saw this last year where nobody thought Jordan Love and the Packers could go on the road and beat Dallas, right? But the Eagles, Hurts, I know they have the Eagles have one of the most talented rosters out there. They do. But Hurts hasn't played in a couple weeks. Concussion protocol. Is he healthy? Will he play? If he does play, will he be able to last? Because the whole head injury thing is a funny thing. Plus, it's going to be cold, hard ground. Will he, all those things. And the Packers can play. They're going to score points. I just think that's a recipe where the Packers could cause them problems. And then in the other two games, I like Washington over Tampa Bay. I know Tampa Bay beat them up badly early in the year, but that was the first couple games of the season. I think week 1, actually. That's a long time ago. I like Washington. I think they're the better team. The Rams-Vikings, it's weird because Vander laid it out right. From a talent aspect, I think we all agree the Vikings are the better team. But the Rams are going to have a home game. Their defense is much improved. They were 7-2 the last 9 weeks outside of the last game of the season where they mailed it in. Not quite Kansas City Chiefs mailed it in, but mailed it in. And they have the better quarterback. I think we all agree Stafford's better than Darnold, right? So there's a reason why that spread is a coin flip. It's, the Vikings minus 1.5, so basically a coin flip.
Yeah.
That game, I don't really have an answer, but it's going to be a heck of a game to watch.
Upsets for me is going to depend on whether or not I'd rather have a quarterback coming back off of a concussion versus a quarterback coming off of a I can't feel my throwing arm. Is Love going to be healthy? Can he feel his right arm? Like, if I can get that information from the team, that would be great information to have. I do believe that that's the game most likely to be an upset. Outside of, I don't think the Chargers would be. I know that they're going on the road, but I don't consider them to be an upset. I think that it would be a Houston. If Houston won, that would be the upset. Just a humble opinion.
Well, the Chargers are favored on the road.
Okay, good to know. I was wondering about that. I hadn't looked at the numbers yet. I normally talk to you first and then go look at the numbers for myself, and then whatever we agree on, that's what I go ahead and throw in the little machine there and get a couple of ducats. But I'm most looking forward to the Commanders Buccaneers game, to be honest with you, because this game could be fireworks for real. Like, it's so many different aspects of, like, Washington is what Tampa Bay was before they started being successful again, if that makes sense. I really feel like Washington is going to end up being in that division what Tampa Bay has become in their division. I don't see the Cowboys moving forward. I can see Philly taking 2 steps back before they take a step forward. And I'm really looking forward to that game. If both quarterbacks are healthy, I think Philly will edge out Green Bay just a little. We're talking like 2-3 points, but that'll be a great game as well. You brought up something, BK, as far as Buffalo was concerned. Are we confident in their defense? Not so much. Which is why I can be confident in a rookie quarterback on the road, because I don't have to worry about the defense he's playing against. So it's going to be a who can outscore who type of a situation. And also, to your point, just about every defensive matrix, they're 1, 2, or 3. So Buffalo gives up a whole bunch of points. Denver doesn't. One team has a quarterback that can put his team on his back. Absolutely. But do I think that a team that's 1, 2, and 3 in every defensive matrix is going to come up with something to at least slow him down enough that I can get in front of you and stay in front of you? I think that that's going to be the biggest upset of the weekend. And then there's going to be another job opening at another location because McDermott will no longer be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. You heard it here first. A lot of these guys that are on this list right now won't be taking a job, won't be signing anything until after this weekend, because there's going to be some knee-jerk reactions by some owners who felt like they minimally should have made it out of the first round and didn't. So I'm thinking that there'll probably be at least, I'm going to say at least one. If Washington beats up on Tampa Bay bad enough, I don't think it'll be fair, but their coach may be looking for another job. It's just, we've seen it before. We saw what happened with Lovie Smith having a winning record and Chicago not looking anywhere close as good since they fired him. You can kind of have something similar with that going on as far as Buffalo is concerned. You get me to the promised land, but you never get me over. And sometimes you kind of have to make a move or just admit that you're comfortable just making it to the door and not walking through it. So that's kind of where I am with that.
Real quick, I do think this Commanders Buccaneers game is extremely pivotal. I think all free agents will have their eye on this game. If the Commanders go out there and win, and especially convincingly, or just get win a good game, man, watch out. I mean, we spoke about this for the last month or so when I was saying this team is a team to watch in the next 2 or 3 years, but it's happening. It's happening a lot sooner. I think that Lattimore move was huge. I spoke on it when they made it. And the other corner has actually been playing extremely well this year, according to like Pro Football Focus, on one of the higher graded corners this year with Dan Quinn and those guys. But I'm telling you, man, the free agents, the Devontae Adamses, the Tyreek Hills, who's talking about he want to leave. There's a lot of guys that's going to be watching this game because a lot of guys want to play with this kid.
Yeah.
And they had the biggest bag in free agency to spend. We all know the best time to win. You got that rookie quarterback, right? And I'm telling you, the free agents are watching this game because they really want. Now they get to sit back. They're at home, and
Right.
they get to sit and they're on their couch and let me see what this kid really about. I see Sports Center, I see the highlights, but let me really watch this kid. And if he go out there and have one of those games that we know he can have, just watch out. There's going to be a lot of people coming to Chocolate City, man.
I cannot disagree with that, and I know that warms your heart, BK.
Listen, keep preaching, Vander. I love what I'm hearing.
Hey, I mean, think about it. I mean, I've never seen a rookie quarterback come on the scene, and you have so many veteran wide receivers saying, "Hey, that kid, Jaden." Yeah, it's like around the league, it's a buzz. Not only Ayuk because he was a
Joe
teammate.
Burrow is the only one that I could think about that had a kind of a buzz like that.
Who?
But Joe Burrow. But nobody, but Cincinnati ain't paying nobody. So what? No free agents going to Cincinnati because they already knew they weren't gonna get paid.
It's just right. They got the right ownership in place. The division is for the taking, even though the Eagles is a tough, but that hill is about to come crumbling down because they didn't. Eventually, you didn't pour all this money to these guys. People got to get paid, so it's going to start crumbling eventually. But I mean, the time is now. Like it's just right. And like I said, I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on this game in particular. Baker's playing really good this year, but man, I'm telling you, there's so many free agent skill players want to go to DC.
So let's get into the weekend that will be as far as the NCAA playoff tournament is concerned. We have two more games before the championship. We have Notre Dame versus Penn State. We have Ohio State versus Texas. I want to know who you think is going to win the matchup, but I also want to know what you think would make for the best championship game. BK, why don't you go ahead and start us out? Give us your breakdown of the matchups and then let us know who you have winning, and also if the two teams that you have winning make for the best championship match.
Yeah, so my prediction, and you guys heard it last week, my best bets were Ohio State and Notre Dame. Ohio State's the most talented team left in the college football playoff. Their roster from top to bottom is the best. Texas would be second, but Texas has been really struggling the last couple months. They keep winning, but they did lose a couple games to Georgia, right? Those are their two losses. But Urs, their quarterback, hasn't looked healthy. He's been kind of up and down. He only threw for 160 yards through 3 quarters in the game against Arizona State before finally waking up in the 4th quarter and then the double overtime, right? So, and the Buckeyes have been playing with their pants on fire ever since the upset loss to Michigan. They blew out a Vols team. They absolutely railroaded the Ducks in literally the most impressive performance of the college football season. Beating down an undefeated Ducks team like that is no small task. And Notre Dame, to me, Notre Dame and Penn State are similar. I just think that Notre Dame is just a little bit better than Penn State at everything that they do. They're a little bit better at running the ball. They have a little bit better quarterback play. They're a little bit better on defense. They're a little bit better coached. They're a little bit better on special teams. Like all of these things, it's Notre Dame and Ohio State. And honestly, I think it makes for the best matchup because people would want to see that. I know Big Ten fans would like to see Ohio State, Penn State, but in fairness, we've already seen that. Can you imagine the country seeing the Irish versus the Buckeyes for it all? I think that would be a ratings bonanza.
Help me out real quick, BK. Didn't the quarterback for Texas, Ewers, wasn't he a Buckeye before? Who do you think that helps more? The Buckeyes because The coaching staff obviously have a feel for what he can and can't do, or yours, because a lot of the guys that he's going to be playing against, he had the opportunity to see them day in and day out. So regardless of how good they may be, it's nothing new to him. What do you think that advantage goes?
I think the advantage goes to Ohio State. And the reason why I say that is their defense, both defenses are electric. I mean, Ohio State and Texas both have outstanding defenses. But reason why I give the slight advantage to Ohio State is because I'm not convinced Urs is really healthy. He's been playing through something. He hasn't looked right. And I don't think he's 100%. And because of that, the advantage goes to Ohio State. But the other part is, remember, he's been in Texas for a couple years now. So because of the roster turnover between the draft and the portal and NIL and all those things, how many of the players has he really seen? So I think the advantage goes to Ohio State.
Vander, go ahead and round us out, my guy. What are your predictions as far as the weekend is concerned? What do you think is going to be the best matchup? What we got for the NCAA football? I think you're muted.
I think the best championship matchup for the championship game, the best matchup is the one we're going to be watching. That's Texas, Ohio State. I think these two teams would make best for a championship game if they both could meet there.
But they're on the same side of the bracket, though.
Right. But you was asking which. I think that.
Oh, I got you.
Let's face it.
So you think OSU versus Texas is the championship?
Yeah, that would be the better championship game because let's face it, these probably the two biggest spending NIL teams, right? So let's not forget that. We already know Ohio State is the number one. They got $20 million in the pot. You're down there in Texas, that good old oil money. Who knows? It's a question mark on how much they probably spent, right? A lot of under the table stuff. So it's kind of worked its way out. The most expensive teams are here. I think I would rather see. I wish it was switched around. Like Penn State could probably pay Texas, and then Notre Dame, Ohio State, and then the winners meet. But with that being said, Ohio State, they should win. I mean, again, you spent the most money. You got the most talented team left. And they should win it all. Because, I mean, off those two things alone, I mean, these other teams are good, but Ohio State is the cream of the crop at this point, in my opinion. So I think it's their championship to lose at this point. And I think if they lose this game, their coach could be in trouble. So I think him losing the semis is way more, I think if he loses the championship game, he may can still keep his job. I think if he loses this game, he still can walk.
And that about wraps it up for us for today. Make sure that you check out the show on Friday. We'll be deep diving into everything sports. We'll have a couple of results. We may even have a couple of hirings. Who knows? But for this evening, we're out. Remember, check us out on YouTube at The Gospel Sports Truth, The Gospel SPT, Facebook, The Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group. Again, on YouTube, The Gospel STP. And for this evening, we out. Guys, remember, always tell the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Y'all be easy.
Later, y'all.